Hey guys, Dave with Moneyology here. Hope everyone is having a great weekend. This is the Precious Metals Review for May 12th, 2019. I'm going to go through this watch list in a webinar style format where I'm just going to go scroll through just as I would on my own and see what's taking place in the markets from various time frames. So starting with gold and silver index, the XAU. So again, my style here, this is the weekly chart, is to look at momentum. That's the most important thing. Price is secondary. And this 38 level is a very important level of support and resistance. This time it happens to be support. And here we are this week. We've landed right on top of it. So I'm gonna go on the limb and say we're gonna find support over here, and we're gonna at the very least bounce and have a perhaps multi-week rally towards this downtrend line and see what happens at that point. But I wouldn't be surprised here to see a rally based on just that momentum. Here's the GDXJ hourly, or rather weekly. Here again, you know what? This we're gonna just drop down to the 38 level. This we want to raise to the 61 level. Those are two very important levels of Fibonacci support and resistance. So we're not quite there yet on the. Let me just refresh that. So we're not quite there yet on the 38 level. That's where we rallied from. Once we broke out of that level the last time around, we flew higher, and so that level I would expect it to serve as support. So is it possible that we can go down here and retest that, I would say, 2750 area? Yeah, it's possible, but I think we're very close to a very strong multi-week support zone. Here's the Gld Daily. And notice the Gld Daily closed the week at the 50 RSI, slightly above there. And this is a very, very beautiful cup and handle pattern. And it's something that I've been watching for a long time, which is draw some steam here, I would. But I think we're going to break out of this level very soon. Can we pull back a little bit? Sure. But this 50 level, it serves as very, very strong resistance. And now if we're going to rally above that, this can be the tide that turns towards breakout of this handle here. So very excited about what's happening in gold. Here's Gold Weekly. So Gold Weekly, this is that same cup and handle from a longer term perspective. It's a little messy here, but again, we're consolidating here at that 50 RSI point, and it's very, very important that this holds. And if we can break higher, that's going to be your trigger point to go long, certainly towards a run towards 1350. But I think this time around we're going to break it to the upside. Of course, nobody can say for sure. Here's another perspective: the GOAU, the Gold and Precious Metal Miners ETF. There's not much volume in this one, but it's a lot more of a pure play than GDXJ. And again, it had a really, really nice rally from November. We've found support here around that 1150 area, which has been resistance in the past. And now, even though we broke below the 50 RSI level, which actually coincided with the big part of the drop right here, right as we broke down below the 50, we're finding support right around this level where we previously found resistance, and wouldn't be surprised if this is the area from which we make a run back higher. And of course, if you want to go long beyond just a short-term trade, this is the level that you want to see break to the upside. Okay, here's the Gold Bucks HUI, another perspective. Again, you take the RSI trend line of all these points of support and resistance, and here we did break to the downside. Now we're at that 38 level, which is important. Could this be a fake breakdown? We'll find out this week. I would like to see a rally in this particular index very soon, or otherwise there could be additional weakness going forward. Here's the Gold Miners Gdx, another example of this backtest. Backtest, if it's successful, is actually a very, very bullish sign after a very strong run from 17 to 24 in a matter of a couple months. Is a very nice rally. So we pulled back some. Now, when these folks took their gains, new entrants go into the market, and this is a great place to consider adding following a breakdown of a major moving average. Here's the gold miners hourly for those that are trade on the short term. So we're consolidating here, and that's important. We're not breaking to new lows in terms of momentum. That's also important. That's positive divergence. But you want to see this 38 level hold. Is it possible we'll retest that 2014 level? Yeah, it's possible, but I think we're very close to a bottom. Gold Miners GDM. This is a weekly index. Again, back testing on momentum. That's very important, and I think that this is going to prove to be the most important trend that we're seeing. There are a lot of back tests, and here again with the price as well, there's another back test in price. And so if this can hold, I think the next move is going to be higher, and it's going to be a really, really strong move to the upside. Here's GDM monthly. Again, it's kind of a inverse head and shoulders here, and it needs to break that 650 level neckline. Should it break that, that's your trigger to go long, but it needs to break above this downtrend line. Until it does that, the pressure is going to be to the downside. Here's the Gld Daily. Here's what we were talking about when we looked at the gold price chart. Again, 51. We closed the week above the 50. That's very important. We closed above this this handle here, and again, it's building momentum. It needs to hold, but I think right now that's very positive what we're seeing. Here's gold on the hourly. Again, we're building new highs on RSI. That's positive, and I think we're going to break this 121.60 level this week. All right, so here's GLD on the weekly, just in a different perspective. Again, cup and handle. We're breaking out of this bullish wedge here, just as we're consolidating, breaking higher, bouncing off the 50 RSI level. Here's the SLV. So silver has been interesting. It's got a very similar pattern to the GLD. It's got this beautiful cup and handle bullish wedge over here. I think it's getting set to break out. It's back testing this breakout level that it already did on RSI successfully, I might add. The one thing I'll point out is the silver juniors are not performing well, and I don't know what to make of it. They just haven't been impressive at all. It could simply be the ETF is going under some reconstruction, and that's causing the decline. I have no idea. But bottom line is, do some due diligence if you want to invest in the silver miners. But again, this here on the GDXJ hourly is a pretty strong support here. Well, hasn't always been. It's not a critical support zone on a short-term basis, but I could see this level holding and seeing a bounce thereafter. Here's the GDXJ to GLD ratio chart. So this one, it's been acting weak. I mean, this is probably I'm looking. This is one of those areas in the short run that I look for strength at. You want to see the miners outperform gold, and it broke down on this hourly chart, and it back tested from the upside and broke lower. So until this can recapture strength, I can't see miners really performing well until that breaks out. And here's another perspective on the weekly of the mining global index. This one was very, very strong for a long time, and then we just boom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 straight weeks down to the downside. We bounced so far off the 50-week moving average, but we closed the week below the 50 RSI. You want to see that move higher, or there might be additional weakness. Now, I'm not sure what miners are included in this index, and very often they're not pure precious metals miners. Obviously, with the global pullback we've seen over the last couple of weeks, this may have taken down some of the copper and some of the other names in the sector. Palladium, another one that's very, very interesting for me to watch, considering the rise that we've had over the last couple of months, frankly, last 12 to 15 months. We broke down from this uptrend, and it's going to be interesting to watch what happens here. Is this a bull flag that's being formed and it's going to move higher? Obviously had a very nice bounce back hammer pattern this week, even though it closed the week slightly lower. It really found support off that 50 RSI point, so we might be in for a new leg higher in Palladium. Platinum, this one is the one metal that I think actually will do well as Palladium it becomes really expensive as car companies switch back over to platinum for their catalytic converter use. This is a cup and handle being formed here, but it needs to find strength and close back above the 900 level and again, find support at that 50 RSI level for this to just be a strong back test. Here's Platinum Daily. Again, we pulled back pretty strongly here, and I'll point out why. This is very important from a teaching perspective. Notice 879 versus 920. What happened with RSI? When we hit 920, RSI did not make new highs versus when we were at 879. That's negative divergence, and this is why we've had the massive pullback. Now we're finding support at the 200-day moving average here. Let's see what happens. If it can find support, maybe it rebuilds its trend and moves higher. That's what I expect to see, but it needs to show proof of that. Here's PPLT again, same thing, different vehicle. Gold versus silver. Here's gold needs to break down against silver for precious metal bull to be in full tact. There's considerable negative divergence. There's a bearish wedge breakdown. There's a head and shoulders. But until this breaks the neckline around that 83 level in this particular ratio chart, it's still gold is still outperforming silver. So this needs to break lower. GDX versus GLD weekly. Again, it's at that 38 level. We'll find support. I expect it to, but let's see what happens. It's also touching the lower Bollinger Band, so there's some opportunity for a nice rally of the miners this week. GLD versus the US dollar. This is one that's very important to watch. Notice it found support at that 38 level, and now it's starting to curl back higher, and if it can rally against the dollar, that's going to be further evidence that the dollar is weakening. Here again, 38 level here of the GDXJ versus GLD on the weekly. Let's see if we can find some support. Here's the GDXJ versus the GDX, the juniors against the majors. This is interesting. You notice they're finding some very interesting positive divergence in the ratio, where the junior miners are not falling as hard momentum-wise as they were before. So this is something very, very important in terms of the internal strength of the mining sector. SILJ, the silver juniors against the silver majors. Here again, the juniors are not as weak right now, even though price is close to where it was at the bottom of this ratio. Notice that the ratio is holding strong around a 38 level of RSI. So this is something, again, to watch out for. You want to see platinum outperform gold. It finally broke out after many years, frankly, and now it's retesting it from the downside. If it can hold that 50 RSI level, that's your sign. The platinum is a metal you want to be considering to the long side. But again, here's the silver against gold. Silver is not performing strong, and I don't know what the fundamental factors are, but you want to see silver outperform gold, and it's pulled back some here recently. Here's another perspective of the same thing, a little bit more clean. This downtrend needs to break to the upside. Here's silver on its own, and again, it's just kind of showing you the weakness. It broke higher here above the 50 RSI, and it could not break above that 61 level, which served as resistance in the past. So and now we're breaking lower, and now we're going back to test that 38 level. Let's see what happens with silver there. Silver Daily. Silver Daily looks a little bit better than silver's weekly chart. We've got, as we pointed out, this is the bullish wedge, and it's broken out from the upside. Now it's testing it from the upside, and now let's see what happens. Can it break above the 50 RSI level? Here's the juniors against silver. This is what I'm referring to. They have not been performing strong. Every time we hit this trend line, they break lower. But one thing I will point out, there's a double bottom, but the divergence is positive. That's very positive. That's what you want to see develop. Here are the junior miners on their own. If you extend this line, we're basically hitting that support level, and let's see if this can find any support in the coming days ahead. Silver hourly, not really anything to see aside from you got PPO curling above zero. It suggests that maybe this move is going to slingshot higher very, very soon. Here's the US dollar weekly. This is an important chart. It's creating this wedge which I think eventually breaks down to the downside, we are on the bottom end of this RSI resistance, multiple angles. Now, can it break higher? Absolutely can, but I see various different signs that the US dollar is getting weaker. This is the daily chart. If this breaks below 50 this week, there can be a very, very strong down move. We can see it move all the way down to a 96 handle right over here. So this is going to be very interesting to watch. This is one of the more interesting charts here. Here's the UUP weekly. Again, different perspective, same type of instrument. Is it going to break up? Is it going to break lower? Here's the bearish wedge. I think eventually it breaks lower. It has tremendously bullish not momentum, but a sentiment right now. So I think eventually a lot of people will be disappointed. And here, finally, the Australian dollar. This is one you want to see strong if precious metals are going to break out, and it hasn't been showing such strong strength, but it is at a very strong level of support, both in terms of momentum and price. So, can this hold? It should hold, and if it does, it's going to rally towards 75. If it breaks lower, then you might see another leg lower in PMs. Guys, stay tuned for our preview of our premium service, and there's going to be a video with about 15-20 names that you want to consider going forward in the renewed precious metals bull market. Thanks, guys. Have a great week.